Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming, the news show where we cover all things FPS. If you would like to skip to a specific news story, click its link on screen, and if you're on mobile, check the video description. Now to start things off, Battlefield 1's open beta launch this week wasn't without its fair share of issues. Bugs and balance issues aside, EA servers were the target of a massive DDoS attack that crippled Origin on PC and the beta in general. The effects of the attack were felt by some users for nearly 10 hours after the open beta launched. Thankfully, it's been dealt with and everything is running smoothly as of yesterday. Now, DICE definitely has a lot of adjustments to make, especially to the way Rush is balanced, but I think it's tough to get a grip on what changes need to be made to the rest of the game. The beta being limited to one map, 2 game modes, and restrictive class levels means that not everyone playing it will be playing it like they would at the actual game launch. So it's pretty hard to make judgment calls on game balance, considering that things like the AT rocket gun are still locked to many of the people playing the game, so one of the most powerful counters to tanks is not available, yet all the tanks are readily available. Currently, there seems to be 2 hot topics that are being widely discussed on Reddit and Twitter, one of those being tank balance. People, even novice players, are getting into the light tank and being able to go 30-0, 40-0, 50-0, just having these insane monster rounds in the light tank where nobody's able to kill them and they're just wrecking everybody with little or moderate skill. The other major thing being discussed right now is the Conquest game mode and the balance of the new ticket system and the time limit. Basically, all the games are ending exactly on that 20-minute time limit. I have not seen a single game end because one team got their 300 ticket count before the other one, and people are saying that it's not enough time to really fully flesh out strategies and feel like they completed a big game of Conquest, and I have to agree. The other debate that's going on right now, an argument, is about the new Conquest system versus the old Conquest system. In the old system, we sort of had a hybrid system where not only capturing flags counted a lot towards your team's overall score, but getting kills also affected the ticket bleed. So you had sort of 2 different ways to play the game. You could focus on kills mostly, you could focus on capping flags, or you could focus on both. The new system purely rewards capturing flags, greatly simplifying the system, and there's a huge debate going on right now whether or not kills actually made a difference in the original system, and that the new system's better because it promotes PTFOing and it's better for novice players and all this kind of stuff. And it's crazy. There's a lot of people arguing over this system, and I think it's going to be a while before we know exactly what DICE plans on doing for the final game. They have stated, though, that they will make changes to the system based on the community's feedback during the beta, so these arguments are actually going to have a big effect on the final game. Personally, I've been having an absolute blast playing the beta. I think there's a lot of bugs and a lot of balance issues to deal with, but ultimately the fact that I'm having a lot of fun playing the game right now is the most important thing, and I'm sure DICE can figure out the balance and bugs as we move on with the beta and final launch. I doubt this game will launch well balanced, but I imagine that they'll get it handled as they have with previous Battlefield titles. If you want more info about what exactly is in the beta, you can check out the videos I did this week covering it. I did a full breakdown of my thoughts on Rush as well, and you can check it out here. Now, believe it or not, other things happened this week with other video games. EA's other shooter launching soon, Titanfall 2, has had a new info drop this week. A trailer showcasing the 6 Titan classes in-game was released, and it looks like Respawn have done a lot to vary up Titan combat. Each class has 2 unique abilities that range from high-powered lasers to hover mode to even a sword. The Titans in the first game ended up being kind of boring to play because there wasn't a huge amount of variety between them. However, these new Titan classes look like they're going to add a lot of variety to the game. Some players are upset that Respawn might be changing Titanfall 2 too much. Personally, I think we have to wait for the full game to judge the changes. We've only seen part of the full game's content, so there's really no telling how much they changed the game, and maybe the changes are a good thing considering the fact that the lifespan of the original game was not particularly long. Now on Friday, we got a look at some new Call of Duty trailers at the Call of Duty fan celebration. Now these trailers showed off some new gameplay with Infinite Warfare, some new single player stuff going on, new multiplayer stuff going on. We know that the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare multiplayer beta is going to start on October 14th for PlayStation PlayStation 4. One of the new things that they're promoting is weapon crafting. So in addition to the basic weapon that you can unlock, you can also craft different variations of it coming in different rarities like epic and legendary, and those will have different properties. Some will even come with their own custom kill streaks. Now, as we've been seeing with the Call of Duty 4 remastered news, the fan base seems to be much more excited about COD 4 remastered than Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. During the presentation, they announced that they're going to have all 16 of the original maps remastered for the multiplayer experience. Now, I'm going to remain cautiously optimistic about Call of Duty 4 Remastered. The original was a great game, but recent Call of Duty games have had terrible mouse input issues for the PC ports, and it's basically ruined the multiplayer experience for me. So if it has the same kind of mouse input issues as previous Call of Duty games had, then I probably won't be that interested in playing online, as it severely inhibits the amount of skill you can bring to the game. It pretty much skill caps you at a very low level, and beyond that there's not a whole lot you can do until they really lock down the mouse sensitivity problems that this game has. In other news, Killing Floor 2's ongoing early access release sounds like it's getting closer to being a finished project. Its most recent update, Tactical Response, added a new map and perk, as well as giving zombies more complex behaviors. When it launched in April last year, TF2's devs made it clear it wouldn't be finished for at least 16 months. They announced last week that the game will be leaving early access on November 18th, so it seems like they're on target to meet that deadline. TF2's early access release came under fire a couple months ago for the addition of cosmetic microtransactions and a lack of fresh, meaningful content being added to the game. But since then, the community seems to have settled down. Another early access game that's come under fire, Ark, is in hot water again for releasing a paid DLC expansion. Scorched Earth adds a new map with 7 distinct areas, new animals to tame, and new items to craft, which would be great if it were free for a finished game, but it seems more like a slap in the face to the early access players, and I'm not the only one who thinks so. Ark is currently getting almost nothing but negative reviews, with most complaining it runs poorly and feels unfinished. Now, in our last bit of news about upcoming games, slides from a recent Capcom presentation showed off some technology behind Resident Evil 7. The devs are making heavy use of photogrammetry to generate over half of the game's assets. Photogrammetry was used to make assets for Star Wars Battlefront, as well as pretty much everything in the vanishing of Ethan Carter. It's an incredibly powerful tool that makes creating game assets quicker and easier, with a higher level of quality than traditional methods. Probably the coolest things about Resident Evil 7's use of it is them making actual models to scan like zombie body parts. And while Resident Evil 7 isn't out until January, fans of the franchise can now play Resident Evil 4 on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The port is basically the PC version with no anti-aliasing and all of its minor issues. Some people were hoping this new port would be the definitive version of the classic game that fixed issues like some effects and animations only being rendered at 30 FPS. Despite the port not fixing these issues, it still looks like a great port and is easily the highest quality version of the game ever released on consoles. And speaking of consoles, PlayStation Now subscribers have the ability now to play hundreds of PlayStation 3 titles on PC. The games aren't ports though, just streamed from Sony servers. This has some issues like latency, requiring good internet connection, and being visually inferior to running the game on an actual PS3 because of the video compression. That said, it's kind of like Netflix for games, which is pretty cool. Being able to pay one monthly fee for access to hundreds of games titles is an interesting alternative to having to pay full price for every game you play. As long as there's still a way to buy and actually own the games, I think it's a great option, especially for people that like playing a variety of new and old games. Sony has also had the PS4 Slim Edition leak pretty much right under their noses this week. Despite multiple leaks and reviews of the unannounced new hardware being released, Sony still has yet to confirm it's even real. Unlike the Xbox One S, the PS4 Slim doesn't feature any upgrades or new features. In fact, it actually features one minor downgrade, the lack of an optical audio out port. Assuming the Slim is a real thing, I'm sure Sony will be announcing it soon ahead of the holiday shopping season. Valve is also working on a refresh of the HTC Vive. In partnership with the Quark VR, they're working on making the VR headset wireless. Ask anyone who owns a VR headset and they'll tell you having to mine the hardware's bulky bundle of cables is a chore that can really hamper using it. While the prototype of the wireless Vive uses the existing hardware, it's unclear if the final product will be some kind of adapter or an entirely new headset. Quark VR and Valve are set to reveal the prototype sometime this fall. Now, for those of you who have been wanting to play Overwatch but think the price might be a little bit too high, or you're just wondering what the whole buzz is all about, Blizzard is offering a free-to-play weekend for Overwatch next Friday that lasts until the 12th. Unfortunately, the free-to-play weekend won't be available for PC players, just Xbox One and PS4 owners. If you're on the fence about getting Overwatch, be sure to check it out for free while you can. It's a ton of fun and easily one of the best FPS multiplayer games available. Anyway, that wraps it up for this week in gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what game you're looking forward to the most. We got a lot of big games dropping in the near future. As always, I'll see you guys next time. This is LevelCap signing off.